Hello everyone, this is Min YAO from Beijing Wei Chixue Law Firm. I've been practicing IP law in China for 15 years, with focus on trademark and unfair competition cases. Here is a short list of the cases I have represented. Royal Oak trademark infringement and unfair competition lawsuit. Bioderma makeup remover unfair competition lawsuit. etro.cc domain name ownership and infringement lawsuit, and Little T trademark infringement lawsuit. I'm very happy to be here today to share with you one of the cases I have represented. In this case, the right holder's product design was more than 4 decades old. This is the right holder's Royal Oak watch design. The design was launched in 1972. Its main design features the octagonal bezel featuring 8 hexagonal screw heads have never been changed. Is it still possible to protect this product design in China? Generally speaking, design patents are the most effective means to protect the design of the industrial products. However, the protection of the design patents is relatively short. The existing Chinese patent law, which took effect on June 1st, 2021, extended the protection period for the design patents from the original 10 years to the currently 15 years. Even so, 15 years is still not enough to protect the design of some classic products which have a longer life cycle. In practice, how to protect product design when the design patent is expired is concerned by many enterprises. In theory, if the design of a product has high originality and constitutes a work of art, copyright protection can be claimed. If the design of the product can be registered as a three-dimensional trademark, it can enjoy trademark protection. And if the design of the product plays a role in identifying the source of the goods and constitutes product decoration that is of certain influence, then it can be protected by the Chinese unfair competition law. All the above three mentioned potential means of protection to the design of the industrial products require strict conditions, which are much higher than patents. All the above mentioned three potential means of protection to the design of the industrial products require strict conditions, which are much higher than protection based on design patents. In this webinar, I'll introduce to you how to protect the product design according to the Chinese unfair competition law through the Royal Oak unfair competition case I have represented. Now let's get started. First, let's take a look at the relevant provision of the existing Chinese anti-unfair competition law. The Item 1 of Article 6 of the Chinese Anti-Unfair Competition Law stipulates that business operators must not carry out the following confusing act, causing people to mistakenly believe that they are other people's goods or that there are specific connections with others. Using without authorization the same or similar signs as names, packaging, decoration, etc., of goods of others that have a certain influence. Before the existing Chinese anti-unfair competition law, which took effect in 2019, similar provision was also stipulated in China's first anti-unfair competition law, which was enacted in 1993, and in the firstly revised anti-unfair competition law in 2017. Neither the old law nor the new law explicitly enumerates the imitation of a product design as an act of unfair competition. The Chinese Supreme Court established these 4 conditions of protection in this M&G Pen unfair competition lawsuit it heard in 2010. The first condition is the product using the design must be well known in the market. The second condition, the design shall play a role in identifying the source of the goods. The third condition, the design is neither determined by the nature of the product itself, nor is it necessary to achieve a certain technical effect or make the product of substantial value. The fourth condition, the use of the design by others is likely to lead to confusion or misunderstanding among the relevant public. And in this case, the Supreme People's Court pointed out the product decoration refers to the ornament of the product, which plays a role in beautifying the product. Product decoration can be generally divided into 2 categories. The first category, text and pattern decoration, that is, the text, pattern, color, and its arrangement and combination that is external to the product. Second category, shape and structure decoration, that is, the overall or partial appearance and structure of a product that is inherent in the product but has a decorative effect, except for shapes determined only by the nature of the products, shapes necessary to achieve a certain technical effect, and shapes that make the products have substantial value. According to these 2 classifications, in our case, the Royal Oak watch design belongs to the product decoration of the category number 2. And this is M&G pen, and its design was protected by the Supreme Court. Since the Supreme Court's judgment in 2010, the designs of some well-known products, including Honeywell Scanner, Cartier Love Ring, Crocus Croc Band Clog, Range Rover model Evoque, have been protected as product decoration of certain influence in the lawsuits, according to the Chinese unfair competition law. Now back to the Royal Oak case. Let's take a look at the right holder's product and the accused product in this case. On the left side is the right holder's Royal Oak watch. Here you can see the right holder's trademarks AP and Audimus Piguet are indicated on the bezel. On the right side is the accused watch, which is almost the same as the right holder's Royal Oak in design. Here you can see that the accused watch has its own trademark Didon design on the dial. Now let's move to discuss the 4 conditions one by one in details in combination with the Royal Oak unfair competition case. The first condition, the product using the design must be well known in the market. Here it refers to the Chinese market. This is a precondition of protection by the Chinese anti-unfair competition law. In other words, a product that is not well known in the market is not protected by the Chinese anti-unfair competition law. The market popularity of a product can be proved by sales time, region, and the quantity of the product sold, the duration and geographic scope of the advertising and publicity, the protection history of the relevant commercial sign on the product, etc. In our case, we submitted audit reports of the right holder's Chinese subsidiary, sales invoices, advertising contracts, newspapers and magazines, online reports, and the Fortune 500 ranking of the world brands to prove that our Royal Oak watch is indeed well known in the Chinese market. Now let's move on to the second condition. The design shall play a role in identifying the source of the goods. How to make sense of this condition? Play a role in identifying the source of the goods. The essential requirement of this condition is that the product design plays a role like a trademark to indicate the producer or provider. Since the product design usually is an integral part of the product itself, consumers generally do not use it to identify the producer or provider. This condition is most difficult in practice. To prove this condition is met, the Supreme Court established two requirements. The first requirement, the shape and structure of the product should have distinctive features from common designs. Second requirement, through use in the market, the relevant public has linked the shape and structure of the product with a specific producer or provider. That is, the shape and structure has acquired a second meaning through use. The Supreme Court especially emphasized that the uniqueness of the design alone is not sufficient for the shape and structure to be determined as a unique declaration of a well-known product. The design must also be able to distinguish the source of the product, as long as there is sufficient evidence that the shape and structure achieved the function of identifying the source of the goods. It can be protected as a unique declaration of the well-known product. How did we prove this point in our case? Two steps are involved based on these two requirements established by the Supreme Court. In the first step, we defined the main design features of a Royal Oak as the octagonal bezel featuring 8 hexagonal screw heads. Such design is distinctive from common watch bezel designs in the market like circular, square, rectangle, oval, etc. In the second step, we proved that the relevant public has established a stable connection between the Royal Oak design and the producer, Artemis Piguet. We adduced proof in 3 aspects for the second step. Number 1, the Royal Oak design was launched in 1972. The main design features have never been changed over 4 decades. The design has become iconic design of the Royal Oak watch. Number 2, a large number of newspapers and magazines have reported and commented on the uniqueness of the Royal Oak design, which proved that the Royal Oak design was highly recognizable among the relevant public. It was enough for the relevant public to connect the design with the producer, Artemis Piguet. Number 3, we reviewed the consumer comments of the accused watch. A lot of the comments were, it was a sheer copy of the Royal Oak. It was a sheer copy of AP. That is to say, when the Royal Oak design is separated from its watch and connected with another trademark, consumers can still identify it as a Royal Oak. At this point, we can fairly say the second condition has been met. Now let's move to the third condition. The design is neither determined by the nature of the product itself, nor is it necessary to achieve a certain technical effect or make the product of substantial value. When the second condition is met, it is easier to meet this condition as long as the product design is unique and non-functional. It is neither determined by the nature of the product itself, nor is it necessary to achieve a certain technical effect or make the product of substantial value. Now we come to the fourth and last condition. The use of the design by others is likely to lead to confusion or misunderstanding among the relevant public. The confusion and misunderstanding here does not mean confusion and misunderstanding that occurred actually. Instead, it only requires a confusion or misunderstanding. The confusion and misunderstanding here does not mean confusion and misunderstanding occurred actually. Instead, it only requires the possibility of confusion and misunderstanding. When the above three conditions have been met, and the accused product is closely similar to the product design claimed for protection, we could draw a conclusion that the use of the design by others is likely to lead to confusion or misunderstanding among the relevant public. Of course, it would be more convincing if the plaintiff could adduce evidence of actual confusion and misunderstanding. For example, in our case, we emphasized the consumer comments of the accused product being shared copy of a Royal Oak watch, indicating that there has been actual confusion and misunderstanding. The defendant in this case argued there is a huge price difference between the accused watch and the Royal Oak watch, and their sales channels are also different. So it will not lead to confusion and misunderstanding of the source of the products. We refuted the defendant's argument that the difference of sales channels and the sales prices may not easily lead to the buyer's misunderstanding, but it does not mean that the relevant public will not be confused. Both trademark law and Chinese anti-unfair competition law do not restrict the confusion and misunderstanding at the time of purchase. And the judicial interpretation of the anti-unfair competition stipulates that the use of the same or visually indistinguishable product name, package, and decoration on the same product shall be regarded as sufficient to cause confusion with others well-known products. Moreover, many consumers called the accused watch a sheer copy of Royal Oak and a cheap substitute, which proved a high degree of confusion between the accused watch and the right holder's Royal Oak watch. Finally, the Shenzhen Intermediate Court supported our claims and recognized Royal Oak watch design constitutes product declaration of certain influence. It determined the defendant's production and sales of the accused watch constitutes unfair competition act, and ordered the defendant to stop infringement and compensate the plaintiff, our client, for economic losses and reasonable expenses for 1 million yuan. The defendant appealed to Guangdong Higher Court upon receiving the first instance judgment made by the Shenzhen Intermediate Court, and then the defendant withdrew the appeal. Therefore, the first instance judgment took effect. That's all for today's topic. Hopefully now you have some ideas about the protection of a product design when it is not patented or the patent design is expired. By the way, Wei Chixue Law Firm is an affiliated firm to Linda Liu Partners, who focuses on patents and trademarks prosecution. If you have any questions about IP in China, we are happy to assist you. Thank you for your listening. See you next time.